Yeah, tell me more about that, Devora.
I have to prepare it. No, that's it.
No. What world?
Drink l'chaim?
What world
Some
event
water.
affected you the most?
I don't know, I imagine there was Second World War, the Holocaust.
What was it like living in Montreal during that time?
Look, my brother was in the army,
Mm-hmm.
and the Jews were being slaughtered, and we were very close to them because my father and my mother were living there, and I was living there, if you understand what I mean. I mean, I was living in Montreal, I was very grateful. It took me, suddenly one day, I realized how lucky I was to have been born in Canada.
Mm.
But the atmosphere, what was happening to the Jews, the concentration camps, the horrors that were being perpetrated.
How did you hear about it? Was it
Everybody
was it
heard of it. You knew it's on the radio.
Radio.
And then when they opened the camps, and Eisenhower walked in, none of them, they were horrified, even though they whatever they knew.
It's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to witness
To
it.
see people, what was done to them, it's just absolutely horrifying. Oh, how nice.
Raphael, do you want a glass also?
I'm okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
And then with Benny, my uncle Benny, he tried to find
Is that Benny Carver we're talking
No,
about?
Benny covers mommy's side.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Benny Silverman was his name. He tried to find relative who was left. People started looking for relatives all the time. And on the radio, I wasn't here then, but I was told they had programs. So looking for this one is here, this one is there.
So Devora, Bobby Fega had siblings, they were all killed?
We don't know. They couldn't be found. They could have been killed by Stalin.
Oh, right.
Or simply disappeared. I don't know. We don't know.
And Zaidi Yitzhak, what kind of family did he have?
Who?
Zaidi Yitzhak.
He had some relatives that were in Canada. And he didn't have relatives. My father, if he wanted to go back. She said no. So I said, why? She says, there's nothing left there. And if you lived in the shtetl, you lived very close. It was like one big family.
Right. It's like a village.
Eh?
Like a village, everyone knew each other.
Even more so because it was very compressed. And there were so many laws against Jews. So that but I think the Holocaust was the event, the world event that I think influenced everybody. I think your generation too.
Sure.
And Israel every year, grade 12 students all over the country take a trip, and you have to pay for it. It's free choice, it's not compulsory, you can't, it costs I think 6,000 shekels. All over the country visit Auschwitz.
But you've never been, right?
No, but I want to go. I'll see, I'm going to look into it about going. You've never been there. Abiella was there?
No, I was there.
Oh, you were there.
I don't think I've been.
Do you regret going?
No, I didn't like it, but I don't regret going.
No, I do volunteer work for grade 12 students for their oral English. So I always ask them if they regret going, and every single one of them says no. Only one person said, well, and he's full of problems. You can see that. But otherwise, no one. And one student, he's a brilliant student. He's probably going to be another Einstein or something. He says it's part of my legacy. A 12-year-old, a 12th grade student, 18.
Devora, what's your legacy?
This you answered.
You brought it up.
I didn't bring it up.
He said it's a
I'm
part of
talking
his
about the Holocaust. I'm talking about grade 12 students in Israel.
And I'm talking about you.
No legacy. I have no legacy. Ask them what the legacy is. I don't know what I.
Life.
See, was that so hard?
You think I'm a judge? I wrote laws. I'm a mother.
If you could pass on a lesson to my children, what would it be?
I'm not passing on lessons.
Okay, what about advice? Do you have any advice?
No.
No advice? Do you have advice? What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Look, it's guilty.
What about any advice that you'd give to anyone?
Why would I give advice?
I think that theme is not going to work.
As we say in Yiddish, mit Eitzes bin ich besorgt. I am supplied with Eitzes advice, so don't give me any more. Very open.
No, wisdom.
So much.
And then he'll ask me for specific advice. If I will know, I'll say something.
Okay.
And if they don't ask you for advice, don't give it.
Okay.
That's the advice.
That's
There's
the
the
advice.
advice.
There you go.
Okay.
There's your advice.
Oh my gosh.
You having fun for her?
No. I need a tissue.
I'll get you.
Here, right here, right here.
To them.
Boy.
You're a courageous young woman.
So, drink l'chaim.
L'chaim.
Hi.
Survived.
You've survived.
Bis 120.
I mean,
Eh?
yeah.
Bis 120.
Well, I don't know about that.
Were those order questions?
Absolutely not.
And
But
as someone said, I have a chashmalai, an electrician, very, very religious person. He won't leave Israel. No? Anyway, so he came to the house, fixed something, and then I always talk to these people. So I said, a certain someone is this and this age. She says, Zulo bracha, it's not a blessing, being such and such an age. You understand me?
I don't know what age you're talking about.
No, an old age.
Oh, and being an old
Do you
age.
feel old?
No,
There you go. So I have a question.
no.
Your father was a religious man?
My father wasn't. My father could have had a much easier life had he been religious. He could have, because he knew, he had studied. He'd been in a yeshiva. He knew a lot, but he refused, as we say in Yiddish, to put on a kippah. Could have been a shamus or something in a shul, and life would have been much easier. But he refused to put a kippah on. You know what that means?
What is it?
On the outside to be.
To be visible.
Yeah, he didn't believe in, but we had a kosher home. My mother tried eating tray of food, but she
In the
couldn't.
home?
I don't think so. In her home, but she couldn't swallow it. My father wouldn't even dream of such a thing, but he had a lot of great belief in God and things like that, and in Jewishness and when you say religious, who knows what it means? It doesn't mean being a chassid and standing on your head or whatever. I don't even think they're religious. I think a lot of them are obsessive and put a kippah on their head and they call themselves religious.
Devora, what was his health like?
Hmm?
Your father. What was his health like? Was he
His
healthy? Was he a bad health?
No, he had a heart attack.
Well, he died of a heart attack.
Yeah, I know, but after that, it
He
was
had a heart
very-
attack before he.
and you know, he wasn't feeling well. So someone said we should go to, anyway, I went with him to this head of, I don't remember his name, but he was the head of the internal department, and then your father went with him, and this guy said he had an ulcer, and your mother, you know, it's unbelievable how things happened, had to see Harry Kramer. Now, I didn't know this. I was always on the outside. Why didn't my father go to Harry? Because everybody went to Harry Kramer. If anything, why didn't my father go? Brogus!
Matt.
Oh, he was mad at Harry Kramer?
They weren't speaking to him for who knows why. But your mother had to see him. So she told him. She said, tell him to come and see me. Which, thank God he did. Because he was having a heart attack. And had he agreed to he had no ulcer. There's nothing wrong with anything in his internally.
Right.
So he went straight to the hospital, and Harry looked after him, and then he had angina.
So how old was he when he had his first heart attack?
I don't know. And we
How
never,
old
we
were
never.
you?
I don't remember.
Well, he was
I-
63 when he died, right?
Yeah.
Something like
Well,
that.
that we know of anyway.
They don't know how old they were really.
Well, how many years before he died was it? Do you remember?
I don't know because he had to take pills. He had this and that. I don't remember.
So Daddy had very much the same thing his father had.
Yeah, but only worse.
Well, we worse.
Well, Daddy was much younger.
Did Zadiatsik smoke?
Did Harry?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, my father.
heavy
He
smoker.
was a heavy smoker.
Bubby
He
did.
started as a youngster, as a teenager.
Did you ever smoke?
Yeah. I never liked it, but I kept at it until my throat began to hurt, and I said, not to like and to have a sore throat, nothing doing. So I threw it away. I mean, it wasn't difficult for me because. Do you smoke?
Never had a cigarette.
Really?
Really?
And Abiella?
No, she doesn't smoke.
Really?
No.
You don't smoke.
Oh, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Like a chimney.
Really?
I smoked.
You smoke?
No, I quit at age 40.
Also like a chimney.
Also like a chimney. Thank you very much. And you, Clive?
No,
You never smoke?
I had maybe 2 or 3 cigarettes in my life.
So, Devora,
Maybe more.
were you observant? Like, did you keep kosher and all of that?
I rebuilt, and I had Harry would come and eat bacon and eggs at my house. Then I went back, and now I don't eat meat, so it's not a problem. But if I would observe kashrut. I wouldn't.
Yeah?
Yeah, I
Why?
would. First of all, it happens to be very healthy.
Makito.
It's not true that mapitom. We know now why not to mix meat and milk, because the enzymes that mefarek,
Breakdown.
that break down the different things in the body. I don't know the language. The enzymes that work on meat and the enzymes that work on dairy food are opposed to each other. Why the goyim nothing happens to them, I don't know. But kosher food happens to be very healthy if it's really kosher, because it has to be absolutely every organ has to be healthy.
Do you go to synagogue?
I used to, but I quit.
Why?
That I'm not going into.
Okay, so I'm just curious. Why did Daddy rebel?
He rebelled against everything.
Just that was his nature. To question?
Hmm?
To question? To just, did he
He
rebel because
was
he
very, I
questioned?
told you, he was very angry. And he rebelled against the family and against, and and against my mother, especially. And
But it's your father who hit him. Why especially against your mother?
because of other things.
You're not going to tell me?
No.
But this is our opportunity to know. 'Cause
I
we
don't
can't
really,
ask
I don't
my
know that,
father.
I don't want to go into it. It was a very painful relationship. And they didn't, they wanted him to work and help support the family. And you know, he was a child, never mind, he was. He couldn't do this, and he wanted to play, and he wanted this and that, and my mother would incite us against my father. It was a terrible thing to do.
Against your father.
It's a terrible thing to do.
So they
to a
didn't get
child.
along?
No. It was a terrible thing to do to a child. And, you know, people should be warned when they become parents not to do that, regardless of what happens.
There's your advice.
Eh?
I said, she asked you for any advice that you could give. I said, there's your advice.
Okay. I also gave her another piece of advice. Don't give advice if no one asks you. You know, Jews are
That's
exhibits
very good.
non-stop.
Unsolicited.
Only give advice with permission.
And Jews are good at that. Everybody's a chochem, which is true.
Everyone's brilliant.
For who else were Daddy's friends besides Malone? Do you remember?
No, I don't know. He had people liked him.
I know that.
In Habonim and mainly in Habonim.
Who are your friends?
I had a friend, Ida Klein. She left for the States. I didn't have many
You used
friends.
to live in her apartment, didn't you?
No,
No?
no.
Someone else from the
Or
States.
someone else? Oh.
Who was that? Who were you friends with in the States?
In the States.
Yeah.
No, the woman whose apartment you stayed in.
Miriam.
Miriam.
Yeah.
I met her here.
Yeah.
So what do you want to know?
No, that's who Clyde was confusing Ida with. Miriam.
Ah. She's written a number of plays and books, and
Are you still in touch with her?
I can't call her. She calls me, because her sons have made some kind of arrangement. She lives in Florida, by the way, where she can call out. We can talk for about an hour or more, and it doesn't cost her anything.
Right.
I said, give me a number, I'll call once a month, what can happen? No, so I can't call her.
So you speak once a month with her?
She calls me when
That's
she
nice.
calls me.
Oh,
And I
see.
bought her book. It's called A Breed Apart. It's about her, a lot of stories I knew because she would talk about what happened to her. She has a very interesting life story because she lived through, she was there.
But she lived through the Holocaust.
Well, she was born in Siberia.
Huh.
She was born in the camp that Dostoevsky had been sent to.
Wow.
I didn't know this, but her parents never married. Just recently she said they never married. I didn't know that, but and he told her because he had been abandoned, his father left. I don't remember who already. He wouldn't abandon her. And there was a great love affair there. They loved each other. He loved her. But living in a camp in Siberia and running away and this and that and the things that they lived through. And when they came to America, the Joint gave them an apartment of 5 rooms. They closed all the rooms and they lived only in one room.
Wow.
The fear that they had to live through was unbelievable. But this was Stalin. Stalin was a terror. He killed over 40 million people of his own, not an enemy.
Yeah.
And Putin isn't any better, by the way.
No.
He's another Stalin.
When did your parents, where did your grandparents grow up? Where were they born?
In the Ukraine?
And then when did your parents come to Canada?
In 24.
Do you know how they
How did
met?
I don't know. My father wanted to leave Europe. Right away he saw that there was no room in Europe for a Jew. And the reason he went with my mother was because she had relatives in Canada, America. That's the only reason.
But how did they meet?
Look,
You know?
they come from the same area.
I thought it was a match. I always thought it was a match.
I don't think so. Maybe someone matched them because they knew, but I don't know.
And then they went to Canada together.
Didn't he try to get to Israel? Didn't you tell me he
My
tried?
father, when he realized what was happening, he says, "Vi fortayi, where does a Jew go? To Palestine."
Right.
So he went. He says he wants to go to Palestine. So they wouldn't allow him because my father had not been a Zionist. He wasn't in the Zionist movement. And they were right because England was allowing people in only with certificates. And they were giving certificates to their own people. Do you understand? So they said, you want to, now you want to go. Then now you're not going to go. We need certificates for our people, not for you.
He was a member of what? The Farband? What was he a member of?
He was a member of the Bund.
The Bund.
So that's what happened. But but my father was not like to hate the way, because he believed that wherever a Jew is, he should set up Jewish community and develop the Jewish community. But he wasn't anti-Israel. But in those days, even now, passions run so high here. It's unbelievable.
Did he have friends in Montreal, Zadie Yitzhak?
He didn't know anybody.
He never made friends?
Well, I don't think so.
So
They're
what
relatives
happened?
with
But it
what-
was a bit of a circuitous route. So they couldn't go to Palestine. Then they didn't go direct to Canada, did they?
They couldn't.
Right.
I never asked questions, so I don't know. I just heard. They were refugees from one place to another until they could.
Do you know which places at all?
I know they were in Romania because the first time they saw a banana was there. How they managed it, I don't know. But it must have been a nightmare.
Must have been.
And then they ended up in Montreal. Because of the Kramers.
Harry Kramer's parents were my mother's cousins.
Right.
You remember Harry Kramer?
I never met him.
You never met him.
But his name was used a lot in the house.
Yeah.
We heard his name a lot.
Well, he saved your father's life.
Why? How?
He diagnosed his illness right away, which was not easy. And because of that, he got
Penicillin, yeah.
immediate help.
If not, he would have died.
He was young at that time.
I think it also was partially what weakened his heart. Must have weakened his heart too.
What's that?
It must have weakened his heart.
Of course he was young. It was shortly after they married. It was right after they married.
How old was Daddy when he got married?
He was very young. I think he was 22. So let's say he was 24 or 25 when it happened.
How did Harry and Shirley meet?
At the
Ask
hospital.
Oh, right.
Where were you when she told us?
Sorry, I'm here. I
She's
forgot.
still recovering from
My amnesia.
From Devora.
Devora.
Any more questions?
Are you kidding?
I have lots, Lori. I have lots.
Okay, I think we're done.
We're done.
The arc has passed.
We did it.
Thank you,
Mazel tov.
Devora.
Thank you, Raphael.